Hey guys, over to here from C4eTech and welcome to my unboxing of the 8th generation iPad. Now, Apple has unveiled a slew of iPads this year, but what we have here for you guys today is a base variant. It comes with support for the first generation of the Apple Pencil. It also runs on iPad OS 14, but most importantly, it costs just 30,000 rupees. Basically, what that means is it's gonna be the iPad that most people are gonna buy. So, without any further ado, let's get to the unboxing. We have a couple of minimal looking boxes here. One for the iPad, another for the first generation Apple Pencil. Coming to the iPad box, right up top, we get a glimpse of the 7.5mm thin edge of the new iPad. The sides contain some more branding. As for the back, well, this is the 128GB variant. Also comes with a SIM slot. That's why it says Wi-Fi plus cellular connectivity. Enough looking around the box though, let's slice through the plastic. Open up the lid and take a look at what's inside. First up, we have the iPad itself. There's a tiny pull-up tab at the bottom that makes it so easy to remove the iPad. 10 on 10 unboxing experience thus far. Let's take that plastic protective wrap off and keep the iPad aside. Next up, let's check out what's in this white envelope. We have the regular Apple stickers, the SIM ejector pin, and some of the documentation. Moving right into accessories, we got a 20-watt wall adapter as well as a Type-C to Lightning cable. That's all for the iPad box. Moving on to the second one, slicing away at the plastic, sliding it out. There's a cardboard insert up top, but underneath it is what we are looking for. The Apple Pencil nestles snug inside its box. Let's unwrap it and put it aside before we check out what's inside the cardboard insert. We have some more paperwork along with a replacement tip and a lightning connector that lets us recharge the Apple Pencil with a standard lightning cable. Yep, that's there so that we don't end up with the Apple Pencil sticking out from one end of the iPad like this. Yeah, Apple's not winning any design awards with this one. In fact, design-wise, nothing has changed from the 7th generation iPad. We have the same 10.2-inch Retina panel. It's still 60Hz, so no ProMotion display here like we get with the iPad Pro. But to be honest, it's a decent IPS panel. Nice vibrant colors and we can really dim the screen. Something I find super useful since I use my tablet to read a lot of books. The bezels surrounding this panel are a bit on the chunkier side, but once more, I don't mind it much. It gives me something to hold on to. Below the Retina panel, we have our usual home button with Touch ID. Works just as expected. Up top is the Sleep Wake button and the 3.5mm headphone jack. Yes, that's still retained here. And in the middle of the black strip, we have dual mics. One on the top edge here and another to the back of the tablet. That's also where we find the 8-megapixel rear camera. It's perfectly usable for quickly taking a snap or maybe scanning a document, but don't expect great things out of it. After all, it's a tablet camera. Our unit comes in the classic space gray color, but we can opt for silver or gold. Well, Apple's version of gold at least. Coming back to the placements, we have the volume up and down buttons on the left top, and since this is the Wi-Fi cellular model, we have a nano SIM tray way down here. The right edge holds a smart connector, useful for connecting an external keyboard or even just for holding onto the Apple Pencil so that it doesn't roll away while not in use. The magnets here though, not that powerful. Gets its sort of a workaround for not having a specific slot to store the pencil in. Completing our tour of the tablet, we have the Lightning port flanked by the stereo speakers. Yes, it's kind of disappointing that the iPad Pro and Air both have the Type-C port, but the regular iPad is still stuck with Lightning. That means we are still restricted to Wi-Fi or Bluetooth or, well, mobile data when it comes to sharing files with the new iPad. Unless you're one of the few who own an OTG pen drive with a Lightning connector. So that begs the question, what's new with the new iPad? Well, that's got to be the A12 Bionic chip inside. Performance-wise, it's a giant step up from the A10 Fusion that we had in the last gen iPad. This is the same chip that we have seen in the iPhone X series. And now that we have it in the iPad 2020, it may be a couple of years old, but it still feels very fast and snappy. Personally, I want to test it out a bit more though, see if it can handle a bit of photo or maybe even video editing. But initial impressions, everything feels buttery smooth. I tried split screen multitasking and thanks to the 3 gigs of RAM here, everything performed as it should. without a hitch. Now, if I were to complain about one thing, that would be the 32 gigs of internal storage. In 2020, I feel like the standard should be set at 64 gigs of internal storage. And with the iPad being as powerful as it is, I'm expecting more and more people to be using it for more than just casual web browsing and media streaming. And well, that's where the storage crunch sets in. I mean, okay, you do have the 128 gig variant, but that's gonna cost 8 grand more just for some extra storage. Coming back to the performance aspect of things, we did play a few games on the new iPad and it held up brilliantly. But coming from an iPad Pro, I did miss the 120Hz panel. It's not a big deal, but paired with a faster processor, it would have been a real game changer. Speaking of game changers, the real reason why iPads have flourished is because of iPadOS and its huge library of tablet optimized apps. With iPadOS 14, more and more apps now have support for split screen multitasking, which is amazing. And then we also have Scribble, which means we can use the Apple Pencil on any text input field and iPadOS can automatically capture the input and convert it into text. I personally find this incredibly useful as I can use a pen to search for new things and browse the web seamlessly. Speaking of surfing the web, we now also have support for wireless mouse and trackpads. So that's one of the nifty features that makes iOS 14 look and feel more like a desktop OS. Especially with the keyboard case attached, the latest Edge and iPad can do a lot of the basic stuff that we'd otherwise grab a laptop for. We also have the Apple Pencil, and even though it's the first generation one, I didn't feel like I was missing out on much. Well, other than the charging method. The latency here is great. iPadOS 14 can now convert handwritten notes into text and even copy and paste them across apps. We can use the pen for everything from taking quick notes to highlighting stuff and even annotating screenshots, which basically means the iPad should be great for school. And that's where I think Apple has kind of missed a trick. With the current pandemic situation, everyone is either working or studying from home, and having a light tablet instead of a heavier laptop could have been a real game changer. Except that the 1.2 megapixel selfie camera in here, it's really mediocre and it can only record at 720p, so not the crispest image, even for Zoom or Skype calls. And what's more, there seems to be this weird bug where if we split screen Zoom calls and the Notes app, the video feed on our end switches off, basically making it a no-go for online classes. But the real killer blow, for me at least, is going to be the lack of multi-user accounts. Android tablets have had this feature for ages, and if the entire family is going to be sharing a single device, this feature becomes crucial. But iPadOS 14 still doesn't support it. Despite all of these drawbacks though, the iPad does nail a few points, performance being one of them, and the second being battery life. Apple has always had amazing battery life on their iPads. The idle battery drain is literally next to nothing. And since this is basically the same hardware as the iPad 7th Gen with a more efficient chip, I'm expecting battery life to be pretty awesome. And now we also get a 20-watt fast charger right inside the box itself. So, conclusion time. What are my initial impressions about the new 8th generation iPad? Well, for 30,000 rupees, it's one hell of a tablet, especially if you can live with the 32 gigs of storage, the chunky bezels, and the same-ish design. I mean, look at this. It's just like any other iPad out there. But hey, if you can look past all of that, it's a pretty good buy. Especially with so many people staying at home, the larger form factor of a tablet isn't that big a deal, and the larger screen real estate is a great add-on for media consumption. Now, if you're looking for a laptop replacement, you have to opt for the 128 gig version, and that costs 38,000 rupees. On top of that, you add the Apple Pencil, the keyboard, and it quickly starts ramping up. And at that point, you might as well be looking at the 54,000 rupee Apple iPad Air. Anyway, that's been my initial impressions. Now I want to know what you guys think. Are you interested in buying a tablet? Also, if you are interested in buying an iPad, would you opt for the base variant or would you rather spend a bit more and get the iPad Air? Whatever your thoughts, let me know in the comments below. And with that, we come to the end of this video. As always, like, share, subscribe, and turn on notifications by hitting that bell icon if you haven't yet. Thanks a lot for watching till the end, guys. Have a good one. Cheers.